So today I actually get to talk about the Persona series. Now, Persona is a series that I got around to in around 2012 to 2013. It was around the time where the original Persona 4 Arena was making rounds online through trailers and whatnot. Me being an Arc System Works fan, having played the Guilty Gear and BlazBlue series prior, the game looked damn cool to me watching these people fight back with these creatures they can summon like stands from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so I went to go pick up a copy of my own. Now, I won't lie, Persona 4 Arena wasn't a game that I enjoyed all at first, due to the fact that I wasn't really attached to any of the characters in any way, because I haven't played Persona at that point, but I have played a few Megami Tensei games. I fell off of Arena pretty early, and while I didn't hate the game in any fashion, it was something holding me back from actually enjoying the experience. Playing Arena did get me curious about the characters, and I definitely wanted to check out the main series that Arc Systems lifted the ideas for the fighting game for. I actually got pretty lucky to cop the original PS2 versions of Persona 4 alongside Persona 3 FES to play for my original fat PS3, though I did have a Vita. I just wasn't aware that Persona 4 Golden or Persona 3 Portable existed at the time, but at that time it really didn't matter. And yes, before anyone asks, yes, I have played Persona 1 in both versions of Persona 2. I just won't be bringing them much up in this video because this video isn't really about them in this case. I just wanted to make that point clear because everyone always wants to get on people's cases about, oh yeah, you only believe that Persona 3, 4, and 5 exist. And no, Persona 1 and Persona 2 and Persona 2 also exist. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point clear before I went on any further. So if you guys hear a lack of me mentioning Persona 1 and 2 in any fashion, that's why. They're not really involved with this video. So I chose to boot up Persona 4, and I honestly wasn't expecting what I was getting into. Now, I won't be going over too much of the plot and gameplay, only my experiences with the game, so my video won't be so long, but there are still major spoilers for this video, so if you don't want to hear that, please leave the video right now. But if you want to stick around, thank you, and let's get on to Persona 4. Persona 4 starts us as the protagonist, who was actually given the canonical name of Yu Narukami in the P4 anime, or if you're a manga fan, the name Soji Seta would also be familiar. You are sent to a town known as Inaba, a rural and rather small location where you have to stay with your uncle detective Ryotaro Dojima and the most precious star child in the world, Nanako Dojima. You begin school at Yasogami High and meet other fellow classmates such as Best Bro and at times Punching Bag in the form of Yosuke Hanamura, the peppy and upbeat Chie Satonaka, and finally Yukiko Amagi, a calm yet graceful lady. After an odd dream you had that night, you are then told of a strange rumor by Chie the next day, something known as the Midnight Channel. Apparently, if you look into your turned-off television at midnight while it's raining, you will see someone in the television. Things suddenly get crazier once it's found out that a TV announcer named Mayumi Yamano, who was recently caught in a scandal, was found dead hanging upside down on a telephone pole. So on one rainy night, we decided to check out this midnight channel to see if it was the real deal or not, and surprisingly, it was. We even stick our hand within it, but the TV that we had was too small to even get inside, so we report our discovery to Yosuke and Chie. We decide to go to Inaba's famous store known as Junes and use the TV there, and along with Yosuke, we accidentally get pushed into the TV and end up in a strange world, meeting a weird creature named Teddy who forces us back out to the outside, which is when we learn that only Teddy can get us back outside the television. Anyway, the next day, we discover the body of a Yasagami High student by the name of Saki Konishi was found dead on top of a telephone pole like Mayumi Yamano was. Yosuke knew Saki and was angered by this discovery, so we tag with him and head back into the TV world, where we encounter beings known as shadows, who Teddy mentioned before as being restless.
Huh?
Open thine eyes and call forth what is within.
It was during this time we had awakened to another side of ourselves, a persona to use in combat, and thus we managed to summon Izanagi, who takes care of the shadows. After a bit more traveling, we hear the voice of Saki Konishi once we reach a twisted version of the shopping district. Yosuke is devastated upon hearing Saki's true feelings for him about how she actually hated him, and we are then encountered by a more cruel, hateful version of himself. This version of Yosuke claims that he is a shadow and the truest version of Yosuke, and being unable to accept this side of himself, Yosuke rejects the shadow.
That's right! Say it again! You're not me! You're nothing like me! Yeah, that's right. I am me now. I'm not you anymore, see?
The shadow then transforms into a monstrous frog-like being known as Shadow Yosuke, and it tells us that I am a shadow, the true self. In our fight, we defeat it with Izanagi. Yosuke then comes to terms with his other side to himself, and then Shadow Yosuke converts itself into Yosuke's persona known as Jiraiya. Hello, Kaizouwar from the future here. I kind of wanted to talk about Yosuke a little bit more, because I never got a chance to actually do so while I was making this recording off my script. So Yosuke was a big city kid who was pretty much forced to move out to Inaba because his dad became the manager of Inaba's Junes branch. Now, Junes is a big a big shopping mall of sorts, where pretty much everyone goes to. And because Junes is getting bigger and bigger, it's kind of driving away the smaller businesses within Inaba. And one of these smaller businesses is actually a liquor store owned by the Konishi family. Saki Konishi is a classmate of Yosuke and a student of Yasagami High, and she's also, her family is really the ones who owned the Konishi liquor store. And she has to work at Junes in order to support her family because, the Junes is kind of ruining her life here. And she has to kind of, work with Yosuke. And Yosuke, she seems nice and supportive to Yosuke at first. But it's in actuality, she kind of just doesn't give a shit about him. She doesn't really care. She finds him annoying, and she's stressed out of her life because her family's business is going down. People are always constantly talking behind her back, and et cetera, et cetera. And Yosuke wanted to find a more cheerful, like something excited, something exciting to happen. And he kind of soft admits that, even though Saki's death was horrific, the excitement of trying to help people within the TV world does give him a little bit of joy in his boring life. Something's finally happening, even though it's not the best way of going about it. He kind of believes that something's happening, and that's good enough. And it sucks to be told straight to your face that, like, yeah, this girl that you thought you had a thing for, the girl you had a thing for, and the girl that you thought it was pretty cool with you, because she was actually one of the very few people that was actually cool with Yosuke, who didn't treat him like, shit in any fashion. Because, like, yeah, Yukiko didn't give him the time of day. Chie would, beat him up on occasion. Not beat him up, but you know what I mean. But Saki was like the one person who didn't, give Yosuke any flack at all, and he thought he could really trust her, and he started to develop a crush on her. But then to be told to his face, like, yeah, I never really liked you. You're part of my problems. I don't want to deal with you. I'm just forced to deal with you because I have to work here to support my family, the family who you are technically ruining. And that sucks. That really does suck to hear, because Yosuke is a victim of circumstance. He didn't ask to move out to Inaba. He didn't ask that his dad... He didn't make his dad become the manager of Inaba's Junes branch. He just gets blamed for stuff he just doesn't do. And that's what sucks about this situation. Just poor Yosuke. Just poor Yosuke. So another night, we actually checked the Midnight Channel again, and then we discovered that Yukiko Amagi herself has appeared on it.
Good evening! Tonight, Princess Yukiko has a big surprise. I'm gonna go score myself a hot stud. Welcome to Not a Dream, Not a Hoax. Princess Yukiko's hunt for her Prince Charming. And I came prepared. I've got my lacy unmentionables on, stacked from top to bottom. I'm out to catch a whole harem, and the best of the lot is gonna be all mine. Well, here I go.
Later on, the real Yukiko gets kidnapped, so we tag with Yosuke in order to save her. Chie is understandably worried and wants to help her best friend, so she rushes in ahead of us and into Yukiko's dungeon, known as the Castle, even though she lacks the power to fight back. During an encounter with Shadow Yukiko, Chie's pent-up jealousy manifested itself into a shadow version of Chie, and like Yosuke, she rejects her true feelings about her feeling jealous towards Yukiko. Shadow Chie transforms into a monster and we fight it back. Once Chie learns to accept herself, Shadow Chie becomes her own persona known as Tomoe. Kaizou from the future here, and I kind of wanted to talk about Chie a little more, about how she had this inferiority complex in regards to being with Yukiko. Yukiko would essentially, receive all the attention. She was much more wealthier. She was, more feminine, because Chie was, seen as like, Chie is this tomboy, and she was seen as one of the guys, quote unquote, right? Well, Yukiko would get better grades. She would be seen by a lot more guys, hit on by a lot more guys. And at a point, Chie would kind of think that she wasn't really desired by anyone, especially when she's friends with one of the most popular girls in the school. And so basically, it kind of devolves into a way where she has to get satisfaction from Yukiko's dependence on her, that she wants Yukiko to rely on her to gain some kind of confidence and support. And Xiao Chie kind of, bumps up to bumps up really high up to like 11. And then, Chie, after a while, she accepts herself. She becomes a better friend to Yukiko. And she does really care about Yukiko and wants to be a better friend to her, because she felt like that through this toxic relationship that they had with each other, that she wasn't being a very good friend. And I'm sorry if I stuttered a lot during this point, but I kind of wanted to get that point out there because I felt like I kind of skimmed over hers really quick, and I didn't want to do that. After escaping the TV world, as we come to call it, and getting a good rest, we aim our sights to save Yukiko again. We reach Yukiko and shadow Yukiko, learning that Yukiko feels trapped by her role in society and the forced inheritance of the Amaki Inn, that her shadow self sees Chie as her Prince Charming to take it away from it all. Like Chie and Yosuke before her, the confused Yukiko refused to accept this side of herself, and thus, Shadow Yukiko transforms into a bird in a cage to represent herself being trapped in her life. After we defeat Shadow Yukiko, Yukiko then accepts herself, and the shadow becomes Yukiko's persona, Konohana Sakuya. After that, we all form a group known as the Investigation Team to crack down on all of the kidnappings and murders in Inaba, as well as to the real truth of the Midnight Channel. Along the way, we meet, save, and then recruit characters, such as the delinquent Kanji Tatsumi, the famous idol Rise Kuchikawa, and the detective prince Naoto Shirogane, who all have their own baggage and shadows of their own to face and then accept as personas. Now, Persona 4's introduction is long, about 3 hours in before the game really gets going and allows you some semblance of control. And that can either be a good or bad thing, which depends on your preference. It is good to establish characters and try to get the ball rolling, though P4 has a sizable chunk of time in its beginning hours. We're not doing much, and you're pretty much doing things because the story says so. You're pretty much out of control for that time, so it's a struggle. But once you get in there, you really get in there, and the game really gets going. Now, Persona 4 is a game that really puts emphasis on the bonds you share and make with other people, as well as the connections you form with those around you. While games such as P3 and P5 hammer this message to you as well in their own ways, Persona 4 really goes to the ends to tell you this. Persona 4 is also a game which has my favorite cast in it, because it honestly feels like each and every member of the main cast, and even some social links, feel like people I know in real life. I honestly find the cast of Persona 4 the ones I can relate to the most and vibe with more, in my personal opinion. And that's the good thing about Persona. They always have an amazing cast of lively and varied characters that fit perfectly in the story they're telling. And like how down to earth and relatable they all are into their own ways, that these are people you can feasibly know in real life, and that's why I love so much. Persona 4 really breaks down the characters by showing us the parts of them they would never want others to see, or aka their shadow versions of them. It perfectly shows that we all have ugly sides that we never want to believe is true, but upon accepting our flaws and striving to become better people, it is the only way that we can keep moving forward and improve ourselves. Even out of the main cast, we see many individuals who live within the town of Inaba going through struggles of their own. The loss of loved ones, problems with connecting with others, isolation, feelings of inadequacy, how adoption can affect a family, family drama, gender identity, self-worth, living up to expectations, among others. It basically takes folks and strips them down to their most vulnerable. And speaking of the truth is one of Persona 4's main themes, and arguably its biggest. And I mean, hell, even the goddamn battle theme is called Reach Out to the Truth. The truth of investigating the murders around Inaba. The truth about the TV world. About what the hell Teddy is. About what we are as human beings. About the meaning of life. About seeing through all the obstacles and hurdles thrown at you to reach out to the truth you seek. The game shows us that the truth isn't always pleasant, and at times really won't give you a peace of mind. But the truth can be cruel, it can be harsh, and even break us down. But to accept the real of the real and use it as a vehicle to improve oneself is an amazing message that has stuck with me years after I finished Persona 4. Now we are reaching major, and I mean major spoiler territory here, because another character that brings the experience of Persona 4 to a head is the true mastermind behind all the murders of Inaba, that being Tohru Adachi, a fellow detective. Adachi is one of the best opposite character archetypes done in a Persona game in my opinion, and most of these points have been ran to the ground throughout all the years Persona 4 has been a thing, but still I still want to talk about them. Adachi is this 20-something loser of a cop that no one takes seriously, though was actually a small helpful guide for us as he never kept his mouth shut about cases. While the foreshadowing of Adachi being the killer was pretty in your face and out there, it was still good that the game added layers to it that tied back to you, the player. You spent the entire game making connections with others to get stronger, while Adachi devoted his life to his studies to make something of himself, which in turn made him never actually have any friends. And when he finally reaches a point where he can be something someday, he became a jaded, a piece of shit individual who blames everyone else for his problems, is incredibly hateful, arrogant, selfish, a misogynist at times, entitled due to his upbringing, cannot take any hits to his ego, and wants to push his whole I hate the world philosophies onto others like us, the protagonists. We are trying to do good and help others, and all he is trying to do is cause chaos for his own self-satisfaction. Now, these are all traits that would seem like that Adachi would be a horrifically unbearable character to deal with, but in actuality, Adachi is actually the perfect foil to us and one of the best written characters in the game for these reasons. Adachi is the perfect mirror to us, even down to using Magatsu Izanagi as his main persona, an evil and corrupted version of the very first persona we gained, Izanagi. We were the blank slate of a hero that grown in mind, bonds, and power throughout the whole game, and became more than what we started as. Adachi, however, rejected any sort of companionship, never wanted to improve himself, and would rather live in the stink of his own hatred than change a damn thing. We grew, and Adachi only regressed as time went on, and even so, he still feels rather human. Adachi claims to have done these killings because he had the power to do so, and if he had the power to do so, why not? There are people out there like infamous killers who just do shit like this without any good reason. They do shit because they believe they had the power to do so. Adachi is a screwed up man that never tried to get close to others, emotionally distanced himself, while the game actually drills into us that bonds are important. Tohru Adachi is creepily a very human character, the worst of us as humanity. The real truth of what people are able to become if going the wrong way in life and caving into the darker aspects of ourselves. You can kind of say that he is our shadow, the very thing that we don't want to have to face, but in the end have to take it down and accept the truth for what it really is. Now, I didn't want to spend so much time on just talking about Adachi, but I did want to talk about him for a bit. Another thing I want to talk about is the OST, and this is going to be a really short segment because I don't want to boil it down to just it's good, because it is. But I can tell you that always, Shoji Meguro music slaps. Now, I'm not a music expert or anything, but damn, this soundtrack is good. Persona 4 has some of my favorite songs in all of gaming. Some of my top tracks include the Genesis, the boss theme of Amino Sagiri known as the Almighty, the boss fight theme for the original form of Izanami known as the Fog, Backside of the TV, A New World Fool, Your Affection, Heartbreak, Heartbreak, Heaven, Signs of Love, and I can go on and on and on. Honestly, Persona 4's entire damn soundtrack is really good. Holy shit. Well, to be fair, all of Persona's music is good. Every single song in Persona is good. So, you know what? Reiterating the point that Persona 4's music is good, it will be just me running a same topic into the ground, but damn, this game's good music. I also wanted to talk about other Persona 4 games, and while these aren't the main topic of the video, I will go over them very briefly as they are related to Persona 4 and are all canonical, except the two anime, which I will also talk about, so here we go. So here we start off with Persona 4 Golden. Persona 4 Golden is the updated re-release of Persona 4 that came out on the PlayStation Vita, until it was later ported to the PC via Steam. As with all Atlus re-releases, it comes with new stuff like new characters, a new face for Persona 4 such as Marie here, personas, content, extra bosses, expanded story scenarios, music, etc. If you really want to play Persona 4, Golden is the best way to experience the game, especially with the accessibility of it being on Steam. I really wish the game got ported to consoles, but I'm just happy it exists outside of the PlayStation Vita at all. Persona 4 Arena is a fighting game that was developed by Arc System Works and takes place after the original Persona 4, but before the ending to Golden. Arena is even canon to Persona 3, as the adult versions of the P3 cast are involved as well, such as Mitsuru Kirijo, Akihiko Sanada, and Aigis, as well as Elizabeth entering the fray. Its story is split into separate story modes for each character to go through. It also introduces new characters in the form of Labyrinth, who is another anti-shadow suppression weapon like Aegis, and Shadow Labyrinth, the main antagonist of the game. And as I mentioned before, Arena was technically my first true Persona game. Then we have Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which is the sequel and an updated version to the original Persona 4 Arena. It introduces new characters such as the older Persona 3 members such as Junpei, Yukari, and Ken along with Koromaru. It introduces two new antagonist characters such as Sho Minazuki and Sho Minazuki. New modes and even more music, which some of his DLC, which I hate so much. Why the hell is wiping all out DLC anyway? As with the original Persona 4 Arena, Ultimax didn't hit me either despite having an attachment to the characters, to the amazing characters at this point. It wasn't until 6 years later after that where I played BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, which originally started as a crossover between the BlazBlue series, Persona 4 Arena, Under Night in Birth, and Ruby. And it was then I actually gained a bigger appreciation for the Arena series as a whole, and now I love playing these fighting games. Also Labyrinth's best Persona girl. So now we have Persona Q. Persona Q, or more specifically in this case, Persona Q Shadows of the Labyrinth, is a chibi-fied crossover between Persona 3 and Persona 4 that has its gameplay based off one of Atlus's other series known as Tohru Adachi, and it was released for the Nintendo 3DS. Now, unlike Persona 4 Arena, which took place after the events of Persona 3 and Persona 4, Persona Q takes place in between Persona 3, more specifically during the month where a typhoon comes in and has the Gekkoukan High School Festival cancelled, and in between Persona 4 during the Culture Festival. Now that sounds incredibly odd and doesn't make sense at first until you realize that time travel is involved, which is why the Persona 3 cast isn't older like they were in the Arena games, and why the protagonist of that game, Makoto Yuki, is still alive. You even meet two new characters to this game in the form of Zen and Rei. Now, I don't have much to say about the original Persona Q, as I'm not really a fan of this game due to how the characters are written and the gameplay not being my thing, but Persona Q did get a sequel in the form of Persona Q2 New Cinema Labyrinth. But considering that game is more focused on the Persona 5 side of things, I won't be going over it. I will say I do like the tracks from this game, such as the boss theme Laser Beam and the final boss theme in the form of The Infinite. And the final canonical piece of Persona media outside of Persona Q2, which I mentioned I wanted to talk about, is Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Now, Persona 4 Dancing All Night is a dancing rhythm game that was also released for the PlayStation Vita and can actually be played on the PS4 through a code, provided you bought a specific version of the Persona 3 and Persona 5 dancing games. Now, this is incredibly dumb, and I hate that this game can't be bought regularly on anything outside of the lackluster P3 and P5 dancing games. Anyway, Dancing All Night isn't all that bad, and it's actually a fun and well-made dancing game. Hell, it even crossed over with Miku Hatsune, for Christ's sakes. It is just funny that it is by far the cheesiest, and I mean the cheesiest version of anything Persona-related has ever been through. That through the power of dancing, we can kill shadows. Even though this game has a really dumb story and I just love it, it also shows the darker sides of idol culture in Japan and how can it damage the mentality of female ones in particular, which is a constant problem over in Japan. And speaking of idols, Orise Kujikawa isn't voiced by Laura Bailey in this game. She was actually replaced by Ashley Birch. And by no means is Birch a bad actress. She is amazing. But holy shit, she is not Orise. Orise, she is not. Like, good God, it sucks that Rise is a plot important character in this game, and I gotta hear the really poor acting from Birch as Rise. It's most likely direction, but I swear, I think it's just bad direction, really. She does not fit Rise at all. And Laura Bailey is very iconic to Rise, so I don't understand Laura Bailey maybe not could have, come in for or just didn't want to, but the point is, I just don't like it. And we're not done yet, as we got some anime to actually talk about. Persona 4 The Animation is the first anime adaptation of Persona 4, and is by far one of the best video game anime adaptations ever made. Yu Narukami is an absolute blast through his serious yet extremely wacky personality that made him come to life, and made the originally blank slate of a protagonist a very funny and freaking humorous Chad of a goddamn character. The anime original content and the amazing English dub are also very good highlights, and while the animation itself is just okay in regards of actually animating, any Persona fan needs to watch the anime. It was totally worth the watch, and I love the animation. And the last Persona 4 content that we have to talk about in this video is Persona 4 The Golden Animation. And while I said Persona 4 The Animation was worth the watch, Persona 4 The Golden Anime really isn't worth it. Persona 4 The Golden Animation is a new game plus of sorts. Now, I'm gonna be straight up. I get the existence of the anime, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I dig the actual anime. It never got dubbed, it was way too short, I'm not really a big Marie fan anyway, and the animation style is so off to me, but that's pretty much my own opinion. To me, the only good thing that came out of this anime was the Adachi versus Yu fight and the song Yin Yang that came with it. Also, there was this scene where Nanako had made food for Yu, and the food was so bad that it turned into a black ooze, and I thought that was insanely funny, and I love the use of black ooze in that moment. I just couldn't... That was a really funny scene, and I'm happy that was in there. Like, holy shit. They didn't have to do that, but it was really funny. Another thing I wanted to bring up was voice actor changes. Now, every subsequent game and anime from the original Persona 4 had certain characters with their voice actors replaced. Chie Satonaka was originally Tracy Union in base P4, but now she is Aaron Fitzgerald. Kanji Tatsumi went from Troy Baker to being voiced by Matthew Mercer. Funny enough, this replacement happened during Persona 4 the animation, starting with the 13th episode, which is actually pretty funny. Imagine being Troy Baker and told that, you're gonna stop being Kanji just in the middle of production. Like, oh my god. Anyway, Teddy was formerly Dave Wittenberg and is now Sam Riegel. And finally, Naoto Shirogane started out as Anna Greaves during Persona 4, Persona 4 Arena, and Persona 4 Golden, but was voiced by Mary Elizabeth McGuinn during the Persona 4 the animation. And now Naoto is Valerie Aram in all installments after Persona 4 the animation, which means that she was placed by 3 voice actors during her lifetime as a character. Now, all of these changes are actually pretty good in my opinion, though there is one I still never liked to this day, and that was Chie being replaced. Now, I have no idea why Tracy Rooney didn't come back, but after checking her IMDb page, the only characters from anime games that she ever voiced were Chie from Persona and Morrigan from Crossed Edge, while most of her work was live action stuff that she is still doing to this day, which I can understand. Maybe it was something that she really wasn't into. And while I have nothing against Aaron Fitzgerald as she had voiced characters that I like, such as Bullet in BlazBlue and Parasol in Skullgirls, her voice work for Chie is not my favorite and kind of kills the character for me. Chie was actually one of my favorite characters in base Persona 4, and now I can't stand anything about her outside of that one game. Chie is now much louder, much more annoying, and her voice is very shrill, and while I can get that Chie is a dramatic and passionate person at times, it becomes too much for me and I can't vibe with it at all, and now Chie is one of my least favorite characters in Persona, and that sucks. I mean, I still like her, don't get me wrong, I still like Chie, but she's not exactly my favorite anymore, and that's all thanks to Aaron Fitzgerald. Now, it has to be voice direction, because I feel like she can work Chie well, it's just that I can't do it. Especially in Arena, holy shit, it gets even worse in Arena. It gets so bad in Arena and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, I can't. Really sorry to end that off on a huge negative note, but I do want to end this video off with like a small speech that I didn't write down, because this is another thing that's kind of off the cuff. Persona 4 is a special game to me. It's not perfect, because there are some things that do bother me. There are some things, but they're so minor. Really, they're so minor that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I love this cast of characters. Honestly, there's not a single character in this cast I can ultimately say I don't like. Even some of the lesser characters, like in Social Links, like for example that Shu kid, the Tower Arcana guy, you know, I don't like him all that much, but I can't say I hate him. You know, like, it's not like I played Persona 3 right after I played Persona 4, and I loved the themes of Persona 3, like about the themes of death and how to come to terms with it and what the real meaning of life is all about. But the Social Links, at least about half of them, didn't hit me, you know? And a couple of the characters in the main cast just I didn't vibe with all that much. Like Fuka, and I don't have anything against Fuka, but I just couldn't vibe with her because I really didn't feel like I knew her all that well. But with Persona 4, I know these characters pretty much inside and out. We know their stories, we know their inner insecurities, we know their weaknesses. And yeah, you do see that in other Persona characters, but like Persona 4 is the one that really throws that at you all in front of you. It's the game that pretty much makes you look at these people you're with on a really deeper level than any other Persona games that are done. And I love that. I love that because I'm glad it's the way I can relate and understand these characters a lot more than I would have, any other way. And when I played Persona 4 for the very first time, it just hit me. I was like, damn, I can relate to these characters. Yeah, I can relate to Yosuke's constant moving around, because I had to move around a lot when I was with him. I had to kind of relate to, in a way, I kind of related to Chie's kind of toxicity crap, because like, I knew some people who were just much more popular than I was, and yeah, they were cool with me, but I felt like if I just hung out with them, I would become popular as well, and it just doesn't work that way. I can relate some of these characters and how they acted. I felt like I was the protagonist being moved from another town that I'm not familiar with. It's a smaller town. And I've always moved to small towns. I never lived in a big city. And I was born in a big city, but I never lived in a big city before. And everything just always felt so small. I always felt like that, yeah, I can get out there and, see what's bigger, but sometimes there's some peace and happiness within the smaller parts too. You don't have to always be big to be happy. You don't even always be in some big place to be happy. And I felt these characters were like real. Like, I swear to God, growing up, I knew a person named like Kanji. I knew a person like this big, bulky. He wasn't really a delinquent, but people kind of saw him as a delinquent. But he was a really chill and kind dude. He always liked to make stuff. He was a really good artist, but no one really saw him for that. They always saw him for like what he looked like on the surface. And I felt for that guy. I didn't really get to talk to him much and everything, but I knew who he was. And that's when I played Persona 4 and I saw Kanji. I was like, damn, I knew him somewhere before, And that's what I like about Persona 4. I feel like I've known these people. Like my time playing other Persona games, like, yeah, I know these characters, but I never like felt in a way that I knew them, and I felt like I grew up with them. Persona 4, I felt like I grew up with these characters, not only just through the game, but just real life. I felt like I was around when, like, I was just the actual main character going through the investigation team, going through the TV world. Like, it just felt like these are things I dreamt of when I was a kid, I felt like, man, I'll go on these larger-than-life adventures with a cast of, wacky and varied friends that I would, make throughout the course of my journey. And that's what Persona 4 felt like to me. It hit me hard in any other Persona game. Just for that. And that's why I like this game so much. It hits me on such an emotional level, it's insane. And that's why I love Persona 4. I said Persona 4 so many times, it's probably like a dead word to people now, but I thoroughly enjoyed this game. And I've played it actually more times than the other games in the series. It's crazy. Because it's just that good. And there's some things that you just don't pick up on the first time around. At least I didn't. And giving a second playthrough is actually pretty great. Even the base PS3, base PS2 Persona 4 that I've grown up with and I still own to this day, I still play that game every now and then because it's just that damn good. Even the PS2 version, which has been pretty much outclassed by the Steam / Vita Vita versions of Persona 4 Golden, I still boot that PS2 version every time. It's just that damn good of a game. But sorry for rambling on this long for this segment. The point is, I love Persona 4. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It hits me so hard on a real emotional and relatable level that I feel like no other game has ever got close to, in my personal opinion. And this game is really good. That's all I gotta say. If anyone wants to play Persona 4, it's always on Vita. If you got Vita lying around, it's always on Steam. And I want more people to enjoy this game because it's a damn good game. People are always out there playing Persona 5, and that's not a bad thing. But like Persona 4 is definitely a game that should not be neglected. So without further ado, I will see you all next time. Peace, everyone. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching my video.